number 1 for fiscal year 2017-2018 order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thomas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner.
Yeah.
Thorstensen.
Here.
6 present.
Oh, thank you. We'll do the other formalities when we get to our regular meeting. But everybody was able to attend some individual meetings with Pat and Brian, so they will kind of move quickly. It'll be a pleasure to hear from our department heads, and this is being recorded, so we'll be able to get it out to the public that are able to be here to participate. This is a big deal. It's our most important responsibility, so Pat, take it away.
Yeah, like the mayor said, I mean, a lot of the information we'll go over tonight is exactly the same stuff you guys saw when we did the one-on-ones last week, so we'll move through at a pretty good clip. So I'll start it off, then we'll kick it to Brian. He'll look at it from the all funds combined, then we'll get down to the general fund. The departments will talk about what they got accomplished this year, what's on the radar for next year. Then we'll get into the individual funds and then wrap up with capital. So we'll go till 6:40, and then we got food coming in, so we'll see how far we get by then, and then can pick up the rest after the regular village board meeting if we need to. So just to remind you kind of where we're at in the financial planning and reporting process, we had the multi-year financial forecast back in November that Brian went over that kind of sets the stage as far as a couple different scenarios and where we think we're at. Multi-year capital plans got presented just after the first of the year. Now we've got the annual budget, and then we do our quarterly status reports that Brian does before the village board, and then wrap it up at the end with the audit. So looking at this year's budget, some of the things that drove it, obviously we've got some significant economic investments coming up. Everyone knows about the Gurnee Mills and the Key Lime / Great Wolf deal. So Gurnee Mills and Key Lime, when you net that out, that was a $700,000 hit to the budget before we even got started with anything this year. So starting off behind the 8 ball, climbing ourselves out of a hole. In addition to that, our major revenue streams, sales tax, income, amusement, food and beverage, all those are pretty flat or just small adjustments of those 4. Food and beverage is really the only one that we've seen consistent year after year growth. That's a pretty small slice of the overall budget. So while that's good, not a huge impact on the overall financial position of the village. And then, of course, everyone knows what's going on at the state level with them not being able to get a budget together and looking towards municipalities to try to fill some of their holes. And then the federal level is a toss-up for where that's going to go. So those uncertainties hanging out there as well. As we do every year, I mean, we got really 5 things that drive the budget when we put it together: keep our reserves healthy, maintain service levels, continue to invest in capital and infrastructure, keep taxes and charges to a minimum. There's no new taxes, no tax increases in this budget. The only adjustments in fees or charges are those that are either included as part of a multi-year rate plan, like our water and sewer rates, or those that we take a look at on an annual basis, like the planning and zoning fees, and make an adjustment that comes before you. And then, obviously, a couple years ago, put together our strategic plan with help of the community as far as what's important to them, and make sure that we're allocating resources towards those initiatives. So taking a look at the overall budget, like I said, no new taxes. 17th year with no property tax, so we got rid of that in 2000 when we traded it for the home rule sales tax. And then really using the strategic plan to guide resources. We've got funding in there for East Grand, additional funding for sidewalk enhancements. Jack's heading up the Blue Ribbon Committee on the pedestrian mobility, and they're working through that, and they'll have some suggestions here in the near future. The improvements we put in for the budget are really what we heard from when we did the community-wide survey. So the biggest one in there is the connection to the Ron Savannah, and working with the Lake County Forest Reserve. They're going to come east, we'll go west, and meet up with each other and get that connection made. Always looking towards technology to improve operations. So there's some grant money in there for fire reporting to get the Fire Prevention Bureau off of pad and paper. Obviously the financial software that we continue to work through and implement. Police Department's got some money in there for the e-ticket solution that they're continuing to research and have made some progress on. And then website's getting close to rolling that out to the public, and then some customer relationship management software to help us when residents, businesses reach out to us for a problem, to make sure that's being funneled to the right place. We can track, when it was reported, who's supposed to be working on it, that it was closed out, so we don't have those falling through the cracks. And then obviously the comp plan update is underway right now. So again, personnel levels, the biggest change in here is the addition of the communications operators as it relates to consolidation. So that's a bump of 6, bringing in 5 from Zion, and then we have 1 CSO that's transitioning over. Other personnel changes, and we'll go through those in a little more detail. Bringing a fire inspector over to the community development department to help with building inspections. And then in the winter months, the fire inspector will go back and then take a building inspector with them to focus on the annual fire inspections. Transitioning a part-time person from the village hall front counter to the back to fill a position that's retiring, and then replacing that with a part-time. A couple extra summer kids in public works. And I think that was about it. The CSO position, we have 1 CSO transition into a communications operator. We're going to take that CSO position and split that into a few CSO spots, and hopefully pull up some candidates that are in the Police Explorer program to get them some on the street knowledge as they continue to pursue that field. I think that about sums it up for the
Inspections?
What's that?
Talk about inspections?
Yep.
Inspector? Okay.
Yep. So that was it. So like I said, the overall headcount is up by 6. It's mainly, well, it is the communications operators. The rest of it is really just shifting resources around internally. Continue to preserve the capital. We've got a $950,000 transfer of surplus from the general fund to the capital fund built in the year-end estimate, so that was not included in the budget, but we've got enough left over at the end of the year that we can make that transfer. Also transferring a little bit more from the impact fee fund to the capital improvement fund. We've done this over the past couple of years, but not as high as this. Usually it's $100,000, $200,000. Bumping that up a little bit. Its impact fee funds are sitting out there. They're designated as far as what they're to be used for. So we're going to increase that transfer a little bit this year. Still have healthy reserves in the impact fee fund that Brian will cover. And then the general fund fund balance, and it's remaining flat when you look at it over a 3-year period. We have $1.8 million left over at the end of this year. We're transferring $950,000 forward for capital. The other $953,000 is going to fill the hole that was created next year by things like the Gurnee Mills expense, the Great Wolf, the impact of Key Lime going offline for a year. Got increases in medical, cost of living increases, just the employee benefits and stuff. So when you look at our fund balance, 24.9 goes up to 25.8 and then back down to 24.9, so it stays flat across those couple of years. But when you look at it over time, Brian's got a chart. I mean, we have been slowly adding to fund balance and continue to increase the general fund balance. So, you know, the 900,000 short next year is just, we see that as a one-time. Looking ahead to the following fiscal year, 18-19, we've got Great Wolf coming online. We set that village base at the $550,000. We've also got the debt service for the police department rolling off, so that's $850,000 is freeing up. And then a full year of some new retailers online in Gurnee Mills, you know, between Floor and Decor, who we've got Phil and the Sports Authority spot, a couple new restaurants online. So there'll be some new revenue generated from them. So while next year is really tight and was a challenging year, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I guess it's a more or less story.
All right, I'll get into finances a little bit here before we let the departments talk more about what's going on in their individual divisions here. Purpose of this slide is to give an overall scope, revenues and expenses across all funds here, and take a look at where we're using the planned use of fund balances here. On an all funds basis, revenues total $70.2 million, including the pension funds. If we take the pension funds out, we're at just over $60 million. On the expenditure side, on an all funds basis, $66.2 million, including the pension funds, and if we take the pension funds out, about $62.5 million. We do have a few funds with planned drawdown. As Pat mentioned, the general fund, we're looking at a $950,000 deficit here next year. We have some things coming on the horizon that'll take care of that. Impact fee fund, as Pat mentioned, we drew this down a little bit more this year to assist the capital plan. $200,000 deficit there. The capital improvement fund, now this is for all non-water and sewer capital. This is being drawn down by just under $1 million, and this is largely from previous year surpluses here, so we build up a fund balance and we can spend it down over time. And then the water and sewer operating fund being drawn down by about $365,000. We talked about this with the multi-year forecast and the capital plan. When we put the multi-year rate plan into effect, we had 4 years until 2020 where we'd be drawing down the fund balance until that JAWA rate dropped giving us more money for capital here. So about 365,000 drawdown here. The actual plan, capital plan had about 450,000, so we're ahead of schedule in the water and sewer capital here. Pension funds show a large surplus. Overall, our pension funds are still growing. We have more money going in, more people putting into the fund than taking out. But about $1 million here in both funds is attributable to a budgeting methodology that we'll talk about on the next slide. But overall, pension funds still growing, which is a good thing. This chart shows revenues by fund across the village with a couple years of history, year-end forecast, and proposed budget. Just looking at major changes here from last year's budget, overall revenues are up 2.6 million, or about 4.5%, excluding the pension funds. Looking at individual funds here, the general fund's up about 626,000. That's only 1.6%. Again, here we feel the impact of the Key Lime Cove closing for a year. And then flattening major revenues, as well as some conservative budgeting. And we'll get into a little more detail here in the general fund in a little bit. Capital Improvement Fund is down 855,000. If you remember last year, we had a couple grants that totaled about $1 million. We had an offset from the Warren-Waukegan Fire Protection District for the ladder truck, and then another fire grant for about 400,000. So absence of those two grants this year, one-time things last year. Water and Sewer Capital Fund revenue is up a little over $2 million, or 27%, due to a few things. $1 million anticipated draw from an IEPA loan, something that has to come before the board for approval again. This is for the Knowles Road Tower that we've been talking about for a little while. And then a transfer from the operating side to the capital side in the Water and Sewer Capital Fund to cover this year's capital program. That's the revenue you see there on the capital side. Pension fund revenue is up 43.3%. Again, about $1 million in each fund here is due to a budget change in methodology. Previously, when we looked at what we expected investment returns or investment income to be, we tried to predict the market. Deputy Chief Kavanaugh and I would get together and try to make our kind of best guess at what the investment returns would be for both funds. This year, we decided to take a little different approach and just budget the actuarial assumption. The actuarial assumption is 7%, and that's what we base our employer portion on. That does a couple things. It allows us to see how we're doing against that benchmark year to year within our regular financial reporting on a monthly basis to staff, and then a quarterly basis to the board. See where we're at in line with that benchmark. As part of the pension funding policy that we walked through a few months ago, I think it was now. We talked about keeping an eye on that number and where we were at in relation to that number, and see if we could draw that down in 0.25% increments, that 7%, when the budget allowed and the timing was right. So I think this will help us keep an eye on that and be able to see how we are in relation to that 7% annually. So be a big variance this year, and then next year it'll start to look more normal from year to year. This chart shows revenues by category to give an idea of the type and amount of revenue we're bringing in. Taxes make up the largest category at almost 44%, followed by charges for service at 21.2%, investments and contributions, and again, the pension funds are included in here, about 14.8%. Other financing sources, 8.3%. This is how we transfer money between funds, so you see the revenue side here. Intergovernmental revenues, 6.5%, and fines and forfeitures and license and permits make up the remaining 5.2% here. Look a little closer at each category. We see taxes are the largest portion, down 547,000, or about 1.7%. This is largely due to the loss of the hotel and resort tax from the Key Lime Cove transition to Great Wolf. Licenses and permits, it's up 436,000, or about 40.4%. Plenty of developments going on, office complex, some permit revenue from the Key Lime Cove closure transition to Great Wolf, to anticipated restaurant spaces, and some things already in the hopper here. It is important to note that these should be considered one-time kind of expenditures, and we shouldn't rely on these for year-to-year operating things that go up and down with the economy, obviously. Intergovernmental revenue is down 484,000, about 9.5%. This is due primarily to those large capital grants we just talked about, and it was a little overinflated last year with that contribution for the ladder truck, so that was included in this category. Charges for service are up 1.45 million, 10.8%, and this is the Zion contract and the other dispatching contracts, and also the water and sewer rate increase per the multi-year rate plan is included in here. Fines and forfeiture revenue is up about 253,000 or 13.5%. What we see here is additional red light enforcement revenues. Again, we had some approaches off last year for construction. Anticipate those being on for a full year, and then at least one approach coming online again, new approach coming online this year. The chief can talk a little bit more about where those will be when we get around to him. Investments and contributions up 2.6 million. Again, what we see here is that budgeting difference with the pension funds, and other financing sources is up 1.9 million, about 50%. Here we see the Knowles Road water tower and the increased transfer to water and sewer capital. So same things we're seeing on the other sides. Moving over to the expenditure side, across all funds, general fund accounts for the most, 60.3% of all expenditures, followed by water and sewer at about 19.4%, capital and MFT 10.5%, pensions at 5.5%, and then the other funds make up the remaining 4.3%. We saw this same chart on the revenue side. This shows expenditures by fund with some historical context in this year's forecast. Overall expenditures are up 2.7 million, or about 4.6%, excluding pension funds, and 3.1 million, or 4.7% when pension funds are included in there. Looking at the general fund expenditures, increased here 1.6 million, about 4.2%. If you remember, the revenue side was only up 1.6%. So you see the annual variation there, and when revenues are flattening. Increase here is almost entirely personnel related. Regular contractual increases, cost of living increases, medical insurance. This year we had about 11% bump. We bumped the budget up. And then, of course, the additional personnel for dispatch consolidation is included in here, too. Capital Improvement Fund. Again, here's down due primarily to the lower vehicle and equipment costs. You see that variance for the ladder truck and the other grant in here. But also a slightly smaller road program with uncertainty surrounding major revenues in the Key Lime Cove closure. We spread that out a little bit over the next couple of years. As we did last year, we'll see where we're at the end of the summer, and if there's funds available or we had some better bids come in, we'll take another look at those. And on the water and sewer side here, both operating and capital are up. Operating side reflects the increased transfer to capital, and then obviously the capital side is the capital program that we had talked about through the capital plan and in our one-on-one meetings. Looking at what overall expenditures are used for, where the money goes here, salaries and wages and employee and benefits across all funds, including capital, account for about 55.6% of the total budget. That percentage goes up, obviously, when we look at the individual general fund. Contractual services, 15.1%. This category includes the road rehab, road resurfacing program. Capital accounts for about almost 10%. Other financing uses, 8.7%. Again, this is how we move money around, this is the expenditure side. Debt service, 3.2%, and other professional and contracted services make up the remaining 5%. Personnel, Pat touched on most of these overall, increasing by 5.92 FTEs. Primary driver here is the consolidation of dispatch. Administration, again, we added a part-timer to the front counter. That part-time position will assist both community development and administration. Help fill the busy seasons since they're opposite on both. One is a summer busy season, one's a winter busy season, so it gives us some flexibility there. Reassignment of the fire inspector to the building inspector, again, to match activity in both those. Additional summer help in public works, the movement of a full-time CSO to a dispatch position being filled by part-time employees. Addition of 6 communications operators to accommodate the consolidation of dispatch. And then the additional inspector in community development is being transferred from fire, so fire is losing an inspector. I shouldn't say losing an inspector. Being reassigned, and we'll have that inspection help back during their busy season as well. So again, here matching personnel to activity. Looking closer at the expenditure side, just by category here now, again, salaries and wages are primary driver here, up 4.9%. Employee benefits up 8%. Again, insurance and pension increases that we'll talk about for police and fire when we get into those funds. Professional and technical services is up 8.1%. This is the red light collection fees. We saw the increase on the revenue side. This is the increase on the fee side. Consulting related to engineering, upcoming comp plan, some temporary help for IT during dispatch consolidation. Decrease in contractual account fluctuates largely with the magnitude of the road resurfacing program. Decrease in supplies is primarily due to lower salt vehicle repairs as we turn over the fleet. We saw that come down quite a bit this year, so thanks to Tom and his crew there, as well as fuel costs. Chief Woodside refined some fuel costs and found us a little extra there, so thank you. Increase in capital is primarily on the utility side as well as building improvements. We took a closer look at the buildings and what maintenance was due on those, and Scott put some additional funding in there to start working on buildings that are getting older. Other financing use is up 8.8%, largely due to the increased water and sewer capital, impact fee fund transfer, and then reducing that piece of it is the elimination of the Key Lime Cove rebate for next year. Obviously, we're not getting any revenue in, nothing to rebate per that agreement. Most important chart in the whole presentation here. This chart shows the change in fund balance. As Pat mentioned earlier, we started this year about $24.9 million. Project a surplus after the capital transfers of $950,000. Surplus is about $953,000. Next year, projecting a deficit of $952,000. Difference about $500. So next year, predict we'll end the year where we started this year, $24.9 million. Again, as Pat noted, it should be a one-time, kind of one-off situation here. We have some things coming down the line that'll help fill that gap. A couple other notes here. Sorry, excuse me. Just notes healthy fund balances here. Impact fee fund, we talked a little bit about that, having a $250,000 transfer. That fund balance is $1.5 million still at the end of this year. Capital improvement fund finish next year around a little over $2 million. Water and sewer operating fund almost $5 million. That's very healthy for a utility fund. This chart shows historical general fund balance. You can see it has increased over time since 2009 and remains near the high water mark. As we were talking about where we started fiscal year 17 and where we'll finish fiscal year 18 there. You can see that flat from one year with a small spike in the middle with the $953,000 surplus. With that, we'll get into individual funds now. Start with the general fund. Obviously, the most important fund here, this includes the majority of village services, not related to water and sewer. Looking at revenues by category in the general fund, taxes account for about 66.8%, charges for service 16%, intergovernmental revenue 8.1%, fines and forfeitures 5.3%, licenses and permits 3.4%, and investments and other sources 0.6%, so a small percentage there. Looking at each category a little closer, overall general fund, as we mentioned, was up 1.6%. Taxes category is down $648,000. This is largely due to the temporary closing of Key Lime Cove for transition to Great Wolf. I'll get into other major taxes here in a little bit. Licenses and permits up $333,000. Again, we talked about developments that are underway and anticipated for next year. And looking at this as a one-time revenue. Intergovernmental category is down $171,000. The general fund, this is lower income tax receipts and replacement tax, excuse me. Charges for service is up about $844,000. This is the Zion and Beach Park dispatch contracts and increased ambulance fees here. So, fines and forfeitures up about $250,000. Higher red light collections and some court fines, and then investments and contributions is up a small amount, $19,000, with the expectation of higher interest rates coming here in the near future. Sales tax, mentioned that flattening here. We predict $17.5 million. next year. We've seen this flatten over the last few years. Obviously, we need to be concerned about consumer habits shifting to online retailers, but also it could be consumer confidence, wages, general overall economy. So we're working hard to track major retailers, as we talked about before, and also react to the shifting landscape here from traditional brick and mortar to more entertainment-focused type stuff. Amusement taxes, $2.3 million, and here again we see a flattening. Six Flags is offering a new attraction this year, so we might see some fluctuation there. Highly dependent on weather, and a smaller portion of this, we continue to see strong taxes from the movie theater. Hotel and resort taxes, here we see the drop off from the Key Lime Cove temporary closing, but we've also seen this source kind of flatten out over the last few years. There's an article in Cranes that said these hotels and resorts go on a 6 or 7 year kind of economic cycle, so we might be seeing that piece come down here again. But locally, we expect to finish 5% down from last year, and next year, obviously, we see the impact of Key Lime Cove closing there. Food and beverage, as Pat mentioned earlier, this is one of the stronger ones, stronger revenue sources. However, looking at a year-to-year variance, we have Portillo. We're measuring against a full year of Portillo's being online. So the year-to-year variance is less than in past years. And again, conservative budget and offset the potential kind of settling of the Portillo's impact here. We didn't add any estimates for potential new restaurants that might be coming online. So, hopefully we see another year of strong food and beverage tax. Income taxes budgeted at $3 million. Again, this is expected to remain relatively flat. What we do here is we take a look at the IML estimate, which has been overly optimistic the last few years. We draw that down a little bit. This year we drew it down by about 5%. It's one of the revenue sources under constant attack from the state and as they handle their budget issues. So that's something we'll be watching, keeping an eye on closely here. Where's the expenditure side of the general fund, where the money goes? Salary and wages and employee benefits account for about 80% of all expenditures. So that's the biggest thing here. Service organization, that's exactly what we'd expect. Followed by other financing uses at 6.8, contractual services 4%, supplies 3.7, professional services 3.3, other services 2.9, and then a tiny $650 for debt service on copier leases. Looking at variances from last year, a little closer here in each category. Salary and wages, obviously cost of living increases, additional communications operators. Employee benefits is up 8.7%. Medical insurance, police and fire pensions, and then a little shift in the work comp allocation here. Professional and technical services up 18%. Here we see the red light fees, some additional IT staffing and consulting work here. Shouldn't say staffing, consulting and temporary employment. And then planning consultant, contractual services is up 6.4%. We had additional money for a tree removal contract to deal with the emerald ash borer or continue that. We see IP network services, software maintenance going up as we get new programs installed and in place. Building maintenance custodial contract also increased in that category. Other contracted services up 5.4%. This is liability insurance and then NIPAS training. The police department is swapping out the NIPAS officer, and that will require some additional training and uniforming and things like that. So, supplies is down 12.4%. Again, here we see snow and ice control materials, machinery and equipment, and fuel savings in that category. Other financing uses is down $378,000. And again, here no need for the Key Lime Cove rebate, as they won't be generating any revenue. By department, looking at the general fund, obviously police and fire account for the majority. Administration 14.4%, public works 10%, and community development 6%. And then we get into individual departments here. So department heads can get ready to talk. I'll cover admin, and then we'll go from there. Looking at admin division here, and what we'll do is we'll cover when we look at the finances of each individual, we'll cover the stuff we haven't already talked about. So like personnel, we know, health insurance, we know across the board is up. So we'll get into things other than that. But Looking at the admin division, this includes the village administrator's office, economic development, finance, HR. Outside of the stuff previously mentioned, contractual services is up, and actually we mentioned this one, but for the customer relationship management software, that's anticipated to get going next year. And then other contractual is up. This is due to bank charges. One of the things we're seeing with increased interest rates is it doesn't pay to keep our money in the checking account to offset charges. We earn more if we move it to a money market fund or something else more liquid here. So this fluctuates back and forth. Looking at kind of some results for this budget year and some initiatives for next year. Let's run through these quick. Obviously, the strategic plan progress reports. We did 1 and 2 there. Website update that Jack's been working on. Actually, everybody's been working on, but Jack's spearheading that one. Financial software. This is part of it will go live May 1st, and then it'll be in the next year, about half and half. Succession planning through HR. East Grand study. Pedestrian Blue Ribbon Committee. Then a couple financial policies, fiscal contingency, pension funding. And then we started a couple projects with the process improvement committee that'll carry through to next year. So, and then in next year, hope to have some recommendations from the Blue Ribbon Committee. As we mentioned before, customer relationship management software to help manage those contacts and where that stuff comes in. East Grand enhancements, added some money to capital next year to start looking at some enhancements in that corridor. Update the remaining financial policies, continue community events, Beer Fest, most notably. And then hopefully have some recommendations coming out of that process improvement committee work that's going on right now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Velkover.
Thank you, sir. Looking specifically, yeah.
Wait 1 second. Trustee Ross has a question for Brian.
Yes, sorry. If you go back to page 12, when we put so much emphasis on the Key Lime Cove, I just was wondering, what about the rest of the hotels? That's all lumped into hotel resort, so it's all together. Are the other hotels, how are they doing?
On an individual basis, I'd have to go back and look, but overall, we're seeing it come down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Chris.
Thank you. Specifically looking at the information systems division and the category changes at a percentage in the salaries, I think COLA, as mentioned before, is the biggest change. In the professional and technical services, we have increases in both the temporary employment and consulting services line item. We've used temporary employment as a strategy to avoid salaried staff. We continue to use and evaluate that. On the consulting side, we have updates in our phone and unified communications system that we'll use a consultant for, firewall and security changes, video distribution updates, consolidation assistance as it rolls into next year, projects such as two-factor authentication in the police department, and in our spare time we'll look at doing some policy development if that all works out. On the contractual side, you'll hear that term IP network services thrown around in a lot of people's budgets. Think about a lot of that in terms of moving from a traditional software application that you housed on-premise to a cloud service provider and somebody that you're moving off to a third-party off-site that triggers a change in how we account for it and moves it into that contractual IP services arena. An example of that is a number of the CRM-type systems that were being evaluated fell potentially into that category. It's a little bit difficult to figure out in the budget process before you know exactly what you're going to do, which spot to put it in, but we've made some accommodations there. And lastly, in supplies, in the new financial system layout, I think things like computer hardware, computer software all fall into supplies. Specifically in our division, it's a large percentage change, but I think it only amounts to $2,000 or something like that based on changes we were doing. Could we do the next slide? On the results and initiatives, I'll just touch on a couple of things. You've heard already a couple mentions of the financial system. It's a cross-department program, touches everybody, big scale. We've done a number of these over the years. I wanted to call out the work that Erica Wells in the finance department's done. She's been highly organized, gotten everybody on board. We've been able to play a supporting role in that. I think it's worked very well. Something real positive to point to. In the outdoor fiber optic projects that we've done, our latest endeavor is to work from Fire Station 1 to Village Hall. Again, Nick Leach in the engineering department has worked closely with us on the design for that. We've got a couple of road and waterway crossings that need to be done, and their permitting expertise has been of great help on that, and hopefully that works out to be a project that we can work with the high school. They have a desire to connect their football field area facility, and in exchange for an easement from them for us to come through, we're looking to work cooperatively on them. Could be a good intergovernmental project. In the public works area with City Works, they've made a lot of strides. Eric Venden, our JS coordinator, and Christine Poisel at Public Works have worked really hard on being able to let the guys do that data entry out in the field. So they're getting that done at the time that they're doing the work, not coming in and sitting behind a desk afterwards to try and catch up. We had a couple RFPs that went smoothly. I think with the server and storage and network equipment, a lot of that happened transparent. All the users never knew it happened. It was behind the scenes. And our network administrator, Ryan Nelson, did a lot of good planning and legwork on making sure that that happened. In the area of our cameras across all of our facilities, the Gurnee Mills substation and the holding facilities out there, the exterior of the police department, some of the water tower locations, the exterior of the village hall, and finally some supplemental work at the public works yard really went well. And a lot of that was due to cooperation from Lights and Signs and using their bucket truck. That was a big help in getting that project on time, on budget. We have police body cameras go online. I don't want to steal Chief's thunder on that, but Commander David Farrow did a great job in the research and project management of that. And again, we were able to play a supporting role in getting the CAD data into the camera system. Worked out very well, and I think we did it for less money than if we had gotten a lot of third-party vendors involved. We had two projects this year that were not really in the forefront for last year's budget. That was some remodeling work in communications. You're going to see some of that tonight on the village board agenda, and the Zion dispatch consolidation. That went from a concept in last year's budget to a reality in the course of the budget year and this new year coming up. Also for next year, we're looking at changing our internet connection, higher speed internet connection in support of cloud applications and those type of things. It's been on our radar for a long time, but now the push has come to shove on that, and I think maybe the police body cameras are the tipping point for that. When the officers come in, they dock all those cameras, all that video is uploaded to the internet real time every day as they go through that. So the need to bolster that connection is upon us. We'll look to get some security work done next year. That always seems to take a back seat to other projects. We also will look to implement that fiber optic project that we've been working with engineering, assuming all the permits come through and the stars align and the easements are signed and everything else. And we'll have a project. As part of that project, we'll update switching equipment for Public Works and Fire Station 1, which is part of a request to go out to RFP on the agenda for tonight. There's a lot of other projects that are department specific. I don't want to go into all the details, but I would say that last year to this year, the biggest change has been we've had an extremely high level of cooperation from all the other departments, a lot of coordination with them, and we're really appreciative of all the work that we're able to do together. It's much more than we could do on our own. So any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Who's managing the CRM project?
Jack's the lead on that. Eric Venden, our GIS, is working with it. Christine Poisel at Public Works is another big player in that. You've got a couple other people on that project.
Yeah, we do. So it's a GPIC committee.
All right. Okay.
So I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I want to. Okay, good. All right. I just wanted to know more about that. Outstanding. All right.
All right, thank you. So with the public info, it's a very small portion of the budget, so I'll go nice and quick just to kind of get us through this. Looking at this first slide, the biggest change, and the reason it's reduced so much is just because most of the website contract, most of the payment should be finalized for this year. So that'll be the largest part rolling off. Next one. So some of the big results from 2016, 2017. So we continue to do a successful partnership with our partners for the Keeping Posted. So what we do is we partner with the Gurnee Park District and then the schools. And that's been continued to be a success. Residents frequently let us know that that's one of the ways that they like to hear about things. And as the lines of government start to blur, people see us all as one entity. So to kind of act that way and kind of try to share communication is a positive. And we continue to do that with each newsletter that comes out too, trying to focus on other community events, not just our own specific events coming up. So what we did is we had a new RFP. We have our vendor. We're able to secure favorable pricing for the next few years, and we've been updating it to we did it all in one edition. I don't know if anyone noticed, but we went from our green and orange colors to the blue and yellow for the new logo. So some of the other things too, our social media continues to grow. Last year at this time, we had about 600 likes. It was kind of just getting off the ground, and we're up to about 1,600 for Facebook. So it continues to be a popular method for us to communicate and share and also get a lot of public resident feedback as they're able to message the village and really feel like we have a one-on-one communication, share things that they might not otherwise. Some of the other things too, we're looking at our YouTube. We're continuing to upload the public meetings and videos to YouTube, which is nice because while we do also have on our website, our new website will be pure YouTube based, and it allows subscribers to subscribe to the village and get notified when a new meeting is up. With that too, what we continue to do is we've been working with a dronographer for videos who's been doing public events for ourselves and also the Gurnee Park District, and continue to kind of capture these from the ground and from the air. So then the big final one, the one that's been in the works for a while, is we're continuing to work on our website. So we're starting our beta training on Wednesday, which is where we kind of enter the test phases of the website. So we have a test link. As soon as it gets a little bit further along, we'll definitely share it with the board and everyone to kind of get to play around with it. We'll start building it out. Right now it has all Latin on the pages, so it's not ready for the public. But once it is, we'll start kind of testing it. And the goal is go live 4 to 8 weeks, they say. I don't want to shoot the gun on it just because we want to make sure when it goes, it's ready. And we have a much bigger website than most communities, but that's a good thing because we have so much information out there for people to find. So that's coming up. Some of that too, the new website will have some features that'll be really nice. It'll be mobile responsive will be a big thing, that people can access it from their phones, their iPads, and have no real noticeable difference. They'll be able to kind of find things quite easy. And we're also going to be doing a 10-step transparency portal to make it so people can find some of our government features nice and easily. So looking on to FY 17-18, continuing our Keeping Posted partnership, I've been working with the Warren Newport Public Library and discussing with them about the possibility of adding them on as a partner. And so what that would do is it would reduce everybody's total costs and also help kind of improve our communication. Let's see. And the next big one that we're working on too is, as has been mentioned quite a bit, is our GPIC committee with the CRM. So what we're doing with this, we kind of took a group of the village across all departments, and we wanted to look at how we currently manage inquiries for service, code enforcement, different complaints, and website comments and FOIAs, all of our different ways. And what we determined is that the current way we're doing it may be a little inefficient. Some website comments or different inquiries go unanswered, and others get answered multiple times. So we wanted to look at kind of what's out there, what's the possibilities. The group determined the best way is there's a lot of good software out there that could be our solution. So that was kind of the determined answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to look forward, but the group's still looking at it, still very much in the implementation phase of the RFP. But we think overall what it'll do is it'll be a big benefit. So the committee will manage that and keep looking forward. Any questions?
I do, just because I'm probably one of the frequent users of trying to track things across multiples. But we can do it on one of my village hall days. I just want to just kind of get what the committee's considering and put my 2 cents in.
Yeah, well, and to talk a little bit more about it too. So I mean, because it's introducing this kind of bigger concept of what this would be. So essentially what people could do with what's out there, there's different companies that do it currently. We've looked at a couple. And what they can do is they can, when they're going to go submit a question, they can pick what their category is. And let's say that they want to look for how to pay their water bill online, which might be right on the corner of the website, but they don't notice it. So they go and they start to type in, they pick their category, and they start to type in their question. What you can do is you can build out an answer bank. So if it's a commonly, like our frequently asked questions, it could recognize some text and provide them with a, basically a response. So that way they get an immediate response rather than waiting for us to respond, and it saves us time. If that's not the case, if it's something that's a different comment, we get it, and then we can really manage it on the back end. So we can really see, they can upload a photo if it's an issue or other things. So we can really kind of watch it.
So each of us, because I get them from different sources, we can work so there's a way to load up what comes from the mayor's office, and then it could be tracked too, that it's been resolved or delegated or...
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things we'll do is we'll manage it internally as well. So, I mean, we might use this as internal processes too. So not even just public facing, but it's just another way to manage something to make sure that it's getting done. So
Yeah,
like a FOIA is an easy example that we get a FOIA, it might come in and I need fire to respond. I'll kind of be able to track it and know, what's been done, and we can close it out, and the resident then can log into their portal and see that it's been closed out.
No, that's good, and I know just the duplication, if I don't remember to copy like the chief and Pat, then you don't know that it got answered, and then you guys answer it too, and...
But we have duplication on the way in and on the way out.
Yeah.
You don't get a resident that'll click every single box. Planning and zoning board, police department, admin, and it's about a pile. It should have went to town.
Yeah.
And then, I'll get it, for it's got a time number, voltage fine. So, I mean, it should help on the way in and the way out. And I think there's also abilities where they can geotag, take a picture of a pothole or, a match along the road, geotag it, and then make sure it's funneled in the right spot. And then when they got it, what the response was, and that's closed out. So
We can measure our response times, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so we can kind of see what we're responding to and just give a little bit better level of service. And the total cost for this, we did a high assessment. We looked at what the Cadillac programs were just to kind of give us a budget number, and it would be about $15,000 for year one, $12,000 there forward. And that's with FOIA software too.
And once you categorize them, can you tie it in with the database? So because now we can look at where we're getting complaints, like code enforcement calls for service and stuff. Will this tie in with that too?
It has a lot more like exportable features, so you can kind of search through it. One thing that Chris had discovered is that there's kind of an open 311 out there too, where you have kind of a preset list of commonly questions that kind of work between multiple different platforms. And so you can also share and benchmark yourself to other villages too. So you can kind of see what other communities are doing and answer that way.
Progress.
May I ask?
Sure.
I realized, that you had talked about the website being, but when you have Facebook, are you the only one that sees the messages on Facebook? Or, do people write that kind of stuff?
No, what we've been finding is that we have been getting sometimes just community inquiries. Like we'll get a request for something for the weekly announcements, or if we could share something. So it could be something as that. We do get some things for code enforcement. Honestly, people are using it almost like they would this new CRM software, where I'll have a resident take a picture of something, of whether it's their neighbor or a commercial violation, and they'll send it to the village with pictures. And then what we'll do is then I'll work internally with everyone else. But I manage the village's main Facebook. The police department has a Facebook managed through police staff. And then we have a couple other people that also assist with it too. My intern, Kylie, and then Carrie as well does some of the Facebook.
Okay.
Mayor, can I ask another question?
Sure.
So have you selected the software?
No, we haven't even gone out to bid
Okay.
yet. So I had to get a number in there, and
Okay.
it's because I think it's a very big. It covers every department. It's going to get talked a lot about tonight.
And have you checked with other municipalities for pluses and minuses of what software they've used?
We definitely will during the RFP process. Once we start looking at some of them, we'll start to kind of talk to references and kind of see what's out there. We've looked at some other communities that we've liked, and there's others out there as example. city or Village of Crystal Lake right now. They have a pretty nice one that we were looking at. So, but we'll kind of get to know a little bit more as it goes on. And this will be something that, if it gets approved, the committee will keep looking, and they'll analyze as part of the GPIC process, and they may, they'll make a recommendation if something makes sense or not.
I just had a question, quick, Mayor.
Trustee Wilson?
Are you able to make it so that when you post something on Facebook, it also posts on Nextdoor? Just for a time saving? Other, like Twitter and Facebook, they'll do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can for Nextdoor, and we use them a little bit differently. More, I'd probably kind of do that with the website, where a lot of the stuff, if I create a new page for the website almost of more additional content, we'll share it to Nextdoor. But sometimes with Facebook, they're much smaller of notifications. And I worry with Nextdoor just that it doesn't overdo for people, because they get so many messages from it, where Facebook is more, puts it on their timeline and they can choose to see it or not type of thing. So that's a good question.
Excellent.
Contractual obligations, this is the cost center where we track kind of expenditures that span all departments and rebate programs and things like that. Primary driver of this variance here is the Key Lime Cove rebate. It's down $385,000 or almost $385,000. And again, we talked about it before. If there's not generating any revenue, there's nothing to rebate here. Also in here is the addition of the anticipated first $250,000 reimbursement for the mills. That's included in this cost center as well. Municipal building maintenance, virtually flat versus last year, and this is a cost center that accounts for custodial services and some items, building maintenance items that don't reach the level of the capital fund. They're pretty accurate, Scott. Community development, take this one. Overall, up 10.8%. Biggest drivers here are transfer of the inspector position from fire to this cost center. And some consulting work for the comp plan, and just walk through the results and initiatives here this year. Began scanning archive building permit files. This is a multi-year project. Comprehensive plan update. Looked at that, contracting some of that work too. Successfully hired new associate planner. Came on board after a couple different rounds there. Significant increases in building permit quantity and value this year. This is one of the ones that we saw it on the revenue side. A lot of activity going on here. Increased code enforcement presence with an additional part-time officer, and we actually did this through a contract. And then moving on to 17 and 18, continuing with the scanning and archiving of historical building permit data, completing the comprehensive plan update, adopting the 2018 series building codes, that's a 6-year cycle, and transition the fire inspector into the building division to assist with the upcoming inspection demands. Again, they're matching seasonal demands of different departments with positions that can cross over. On the engineering side of community development, driving the decrease here, it's down about $16,000, is just lower consulting services, vehicle maintenance, and computer hardware. And then 2016-17 results here. Obtained permits and constructed the sidewalk, Route 21 sidewalk near Six Flags. We talked about that at the end of last summer, I believe, is when we brought that forward. Initiated engineering design work on the Knowles Road Water Tower. Completed the largest roadway reconstruction maintenance program in Gurnee's history last year. 17-18, complete design, finish the Knowles Road water, finish permitting and financing, not finish the tower. Make sure I clarify that. The tower won't be done next year. But permitting and financing for the tower, hopefully we'll get through some of that. Coordinate with JAWA, locate, permit, and construct receiving structure and pump station for the new secondary water connection. And then realign Old Grand and Emerald Avenue intersection. And I will look to Scott for approval to move on from that slide. All right. Pass it over to Chief Woodside.
Thank you very much. Looking at the major line items in review from this year, we expect to come in 3.4% or $474,000 under budget for the fiscal year. And as Brian mentioned, that's primarily due to salary, wages, and employee benefits for vacant positions that we've had throughout the year. We are experiencing some success filling late in the year, but have been unfilled for a majority of the year. It was mentioned the impact of red flex collections in professional and technical services. A number of intersections were down throughout part of the year, 41 in Delaney and 132 and 21. So as a result of those being offline, we had fewer expenses for operating those approaches. And in the supplies line, it was mentioned that fuel costs came in lower than expected. I think I got a little more credit for that when you mentioned it than I deserve. Fuel prices were down, so that was really the...
The spreadsheet was impressive.
Looking forward to the summary for next year, the budget increase is requested at 5.7%, or $795,000 higher than the previous year. That again is due in large part to salaries and wages, cost of living, and contractual step increase obligations. Also pension and insurance costs under employee benefits. The professional and technical services line will be increasing $94,000. Again, the savings that we enjoyed this year as a result of those red light photo enforced approaches being down, we expect that they will all be up and operating again for the coming fiscal year, in addition to Washington and Route 21 having a system coming online. Contractual services, those increases center around the increasing cost of our aging building and maintenance of the building, including some additional custodial services that we'll be bringing on next year. The NIPUS increase under contracted services, we've had the NIPUS emergency services team is the SWAT team that we participate in, and the officer that we've had assigned to that team has been there for 9 years. He will be rotating out of that assignment and we'll be moving somebody else in. So this is a one-time expense of outfitting an officer for that specialized unit. And the supplies line, actually we're going to experience a reduction next year, and that is a result of costs of radios that are dropping off. Our portable radios is an expense that we've had for the last 3 years that is ending this year. Looking at our results of our initiatives for this year, the body-worn cameras has gotten an awful lot of attention. We did a presentation in front of the board on December 5th with the approval to move forward on the 19th of December, and we have successfully completed the training and deployed those body-worn cameras. That was effective March 2nd, so that is brand new news that those are up and running. If you remember, as a result of that process and choosing TASER as the vendor for the cameras, we had an opportunity to also deploy conducted electrical weapons at the same time and then still remain under budget. So that is a project that is still ongoing that we expect to complete before the end of the year. Training for those devices, they've been received. We have the devices, and training is going to take place mid-April, and so we will have the TASER devices deployed before the end of the year. One of our strategic plan initiatives also included adding additional officers to the visitor-oriented policing team. And as I mentioned, we've had vacant police officer positions through the year. It's been a challenge recruiting and filling those positions, but we just this month have successfully filled the vacancies sufficiently to assign 2 officers to the visitor-oriented policing team. So although that is going to be something that will continue into next year, we did make significant progress this year. The e-citation initiative is another thing that has been previously mentioned. This is a countywide initiative, so we've been working with the Lake County Chiefs of Police Association in a joint venture. Again, this is a system that will transmit citations written by police officers to our record section and then on to the court clerk. So a project headed up by Deputy Chief Campbell and our record supervisor, John Peterson. We've done research and planning, have identified some suggested vendors. We are at the point where we are prepared to take that a step forward. That will again be an initiative that will continue on into the following year. So looking forward, our initiatives for next year. Late last year, we conducted a series of meetings as a listening tour, hearing the community's comments and on the tension that exists between the community and police in general. So we're going to be moving into next year with a follow-up that will include increased community engagement. In addition to our Citizens Police Academy and Neighborhood Watch programs, we'll be scheduling community meetings beginning in our churches to continue discussions in the style of a listening tour. In addition to that, we're bringing on a public education specialist, and that position will lead the effort to engage youth in the community in the discussion as well. And on that, the public education specialist, the primary responsibility of that position as we transition away from the DARE program is to develop a curriculum appropriate for each grade level and then lead our team as we teach our kids. We're going to be prepared to move that officer into that position this fall as the next school year begins. Looking forward with the visitor-oriented policing team, we still have 4 vacancies that we are in the process of filling. 3 of those officers will be assigned to the visitor-oriented policing team. So when fully staffed next year, we will have the level of proactive and policing and visible presence in our retail and entertainment districts that we described in the strategic plan as we discussed that earlier in the year. We also mentioned the full-time community service officer position that is being that person is being transitioned into the communications center as a communications operator, and the salary from that full-time position is going to be used to fund a number of part-time positions. We're going to develop an internship program that is going to target college-age students. We'll be looking at students that are a part of our Explorer program, but not exclusively just for them, that will bridge the gap between finishing high school and then eligibility for recruitment as a police officer. Minimum requirements include being 21 years of age and having 60 hours of college credit. So there is a period of time between graduating high school and no longer being a part of the Explorer program to then being eligible to be recruited as a police officer. So we want to continue to develop and mentor those great candidates from within our own community. And eventually I'll be telling you some success stories about how we've recruited police officers that way. Moving on to police communications. Brian mentioned that village-wide 80% of expenses come from salary and benefits. In communications, that's even more lopsided. 95% of that budget is represented in salary and benefits. So while you look at this and you see some pretty significant increases, it's pretty apparent that that is entirely because of the 6 full-time positions that are being added as a result of the consolidation with Zion. Additionally, there's some increase in professional services that was mentioned because of we are going into collective bargaining with the communications operators as they have sought to organize. So actually our first meeting with their representative and those employees will be tomorrow morning. So we're expecting some increased legal expenses as a result of that negotiation and developing our first collective bargaining agreement with that group of employees. So moving on to results from this year and initiatives for next year. Again, this centers around what has obviously been a very significantly encompassing project that in the consolidation effort. It's been underway since September of 2014. It was that long ago that we came before the village board and asked for authority to engage a consultant to start taking a look at this issue. So in that time, we've identified suitable partners. We've negotiated intergovernmental agreements. We've created a joint ETSB board. We've interviewed and prepared to hire additional communications operators, prepared and submitted consolidation applications, grant applications. We're in the process of changing policies and procedures and practices to accommodate the combining of services. And then we're also preparing to make physical changes to the communication center to accommodate the additional capacity. So we've made significant progress. Deputy Chief Saundra Campbell and John Cavanaugh have headed that with significant input and help from the entire village team. Chris Velkover from IS, our communication supervisor Phil Brunel has been instrumental. Brian Gosnell certainly in helping manage all of the complicated financial arrangements that were necessary, and all of this under the direction of Pat. It's been a huge effort, and it is coming to fruition. As you look at the initiatives for next year, May of 2017, next month, we'll be finishing up the final negotiations to bring Beach Park Fire on board, and then July of 2017 is the big target date for the full consolidation with Zion Police and Fire. So we are looking forward to that being the end of this phase, but then we're already beginning to talk with other potential interested partners in where that might lead after this coming year. So we're reaching a point where we have some significant wins here, but it is just the beginning. It's not the end of where we're headed with that. So with that, I'll take any questions you have on either one of those budgets.
I feel like applauding on the consolidation. Just one little line there just really does not do justice to the efforts that have gone into this. And this truly positions us well for the next decade as there's more and more consolidation and the county's talking about getting to a limited number. We will be well positioned to be one of the ones standing at the end of the decade. So thank you, everyone that's been involved in that. That's huge. Questions on public safety? Trustee Wilson?
Yeah, first of all, I was going to say I'm so happy to see us at the hub or in a leadership role as the governor put forward a plan to where we have to consolidate statewide, and we're at the forefront. So excellent. As we focus on diversity, where are we currently placing help wanted advertisements?
Specifically for?
Just to expand the diversity of our of who we have on our police force.
Well, we don't have any vacancies to fill right now, but we'll work with HR and work with civil service to advertise and reach into as far and wide as we possibly can to reach qualified, excellent candidates.
And is there an opportunity where we could make those announcements as well with Jack on Nextdoor and Facebook? I don't know if we currently are that, but maybe working together?
Absolutely. No, we don't miss an opportunity to do that. Our recruitment will be on Facebook, on Nextdoor. Yeah, those are easy, quick wins, but definitely we'll do that.
That way it shows that, from the village too, that we're looking, the more that we can, it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah, no, we've taken full advantage of that in the past, and we certainly will continue to do that. Yeah, no, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Okay. Move on.
Okay, thank you. On the fire side, we're looking at coming in about 1% under budget this year. And then for next year, we're looking at a 2% increase in our overall budget. Brian has already kind of covered the salaries and wages area and employee benefits. So I'll move on to professional and technical services. In that area, we're looking at roughly a change of about $2,100. In this area, we have general legal, which is remains in kind of in a down, less figure, a downturn. Labor attorney, again, that particular area is down. We continue to work with our firefighter union in that to talk to them directly without attorneys, which has definitely helped. The area where we saw some increase to this account, this category, was in the payment of third-party ambulance billing. But again, that was due to the increased number of calls this past year and also an increase in revenue. On the contractual side, we're looking at about a $20,000 increase to this particular category. A lot of this, again, is working with Chris and the IS department as they review our needs. This has a lot to do with our training and tracking program. Also the electronic patient reporting system that, again, we hope to move forward here with next year. And as Chris had mentioned, overall, moving a lot of these services to the cloud. Other contractual services, this particular area overall, we're not even looking at really a $1,000 increase to this, but there are a couple of highlights. Insurance, again, those are areas, liability, auto, and property, some minor increases in that particular area. Also to note, mobile data services. This is an area that was originally charged to our 911, but as we move forward here with consolidation, That is an area that is being moved into each particular department. The other area is dues and subscription. This was an area that this full account is being moved, or our quasi-government dues is being moved into the dues and subscription area. So that was an increase. But the huge one here, and this was working again with IS, was our leased phone lines. All of our fire radio lines have been moved away from leased phone lines to microwave point-to-point. So that particular area, which was close to about $22,000 expense, has been totally zeroed out. So again, thank you, Chris, for that. Supplies, we are down in this particular area, and I know as Chief Woodside had mentioned, a lot of this has to do with fuel cost. And then other financing, which was the one category, again, that was originally our quasi-government dues. This took in MAVIS and also our specialized response teams. That, again, was moved into other contractual services. As we look at our results for 2016, 2017, we placed our ladder tower 1331 in service here. And again, thank you to our mayor, village board for attending. We also implemented, again, as I had mentioned, our Target Solutions, which is a new training and tracking program for our personnel. We worked within the fire service community to find strategic partners for shared dispatch services. And again, Chief Woodside mentioned again, Zion and Beach Park is two, and possibly some others coming online in the next year. Internally, we reviewed and placed in service updated MAVIS emergency response cards, and that was also a review of our automatic responses with many of our neighboring departments. For 2017, 2018, again, we are looking at going live with our electronic patient care reporting system. We continue to work at a strong partnership with the Warren-Waukegan Fire Protection District. We continue to partner with the business community to provide public education materials for our school children. And again, we're going to look at placing a grant-funded heavy rescue squad and, as part of our budget, a 5th advanced life support ambulance in service in next year. We do have next one. Foreign fire. Yes, go ahead, Mayor.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, what's heavy rescue?
That's our kind of our toolbox truck.
That's the grant funded.
The grant funded.
That was awarded in 16-17. It was a 90-10 Homeland Security grant. So when we saw the capital fund go down to $800,000, half of that was the Warren-Waukegan Fire Protection District coming out. The other half was that grant was a one-time. So that truck's being built right now.
What does it do?
Right.
It's a big toolbox.
Basically, it carries all of our specialized response equipment, dive rescue, high-angle equipment. We have a large light tower on that particular unit, air cascade system to refill our self-contained breathing apparatus on the scene of a call. So again, it just carries a lot of tools.
Okay, and then the 5th ambulance, that's just
That
for
is
rotation?
Yes, we're going to, rather than sell off our 4th ambulance, we're going to, the suggestion in the budget process, if the 5th ambulance is approved, we would keep that particular unit in service.
So are we going to run 5 ambulances or still just run 3?
We're going to run 3 to 4, but with that 5th unit, that'll give us the ability for maintenance and ongoing maintenance.
Okay, so more of a
keep them on,
circulation.
yes.
Okay. Good. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
And then foreign fire, again, a couple of things primary that were done here this past year with the Foreign Fire Board. They had approved funding to finish off and rebuild the Station 2 shower area and locker area, which included for female services or candidates if we do get any. The other was we did purchase equipment to update our dive rescue team to meet the new MAVIS standards.
Okay. We do have a female candidate on the list.
So the possibility exists. Any questions?
Questions for Chief Friedel?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now to the public works side on the street side. I'm going to cover just a couple of highlights here. On the contractual service side, the increase of $51,000 was budgeted for the EAB tree removal, the $40,000. Also, our street sweeping contract went up this year. We went with a contractor that went through Lake County Municipal League a couple years ago. We walked away from the municipal league and went on our own. This is the first increase that they've done, so that $15,000 is an increase for the first time in 4 years. And that's just lane miles. They increased per mile or per curb mile, and then also our dumping fees. They take care of all of our sweeping and dump it. It's a hazardous material, so they take care of it.
And they're still cheaper than what they bid.
Yes.
We're still cheaper than what they bid the municipal league this year, so we're still money ahead on that.
And then we had some street light maintenance increase for our LED, our maintenance on our old system, not our new system, and then sidewalk maintenance increase as well. On the supply side, it was a decrease of about $82,000, and that's because of our snow and ice control season and our fuel. Just to give you an update, we are about 2,900 ton in our dome right now, and we still have to take 2,000 ton from the state. So we'll have 4,900 ton of salt going into next year. We will not take any salt from the state next year, only through Lake County, so we'll have enough to get us through the next 2 years. It's the third year that we'll actually have to increase to get that in.
And the dome holds how much?
3,800 ton. So I got to figure out where to put the rest of it. So if you got a free garage, let me know.
Are you telling me it won't snow the rest of the year?
It ain't going to snow the rest of the year. You heard it here first. So I just want to let you go through this. Between fiscal year 17 and 18, most of our stuff is identically the same, and only because they are all programs that we are in multi-year programs. So every year we do revise our snow and ice control plan, and that is we revise it because we get new equipment. There is new technology that comes on board. We try new products that are out there. We did start out with Supermix, and we changed over to a component called Beat Heat. We've been using that for the last 2 years, which works out pretty well. Our LED street lighting, we're going to be moving into our 4th year of LED street lighting. And when we're working with Scott as he goes through areas of town where he reconstructs roads or resurfaces them, we follow behind him and try to put those LED street lights in. So we're moving through town with that. Our traffic control sign inspection is in year 4 of that. We have 11 snow routes. We have gone through 7 of those 11. We have 4 more to go. And that's all on the west side of town, all the way from Route 21 West and also Heather Ridge to finish off. The EAB treatments, we are in year 7 of the EAB treatments. And just to give you a little background on that, in 2011 we had 3,300 ash trees. To date we have 2,400. So we have lost a little under 1,000 trees in that time, but we have held on to the remaining of them with our treatments and our removals. So that's moving along pretty well. I do not believe they'll all survive over time. I think they're going to end up going, but it kind of prolongs it a little bit as we go. And now this year we have gone to every other year of treating versus every 3 years, and it's finding out that it holds on a little better. Our storm sewer basin repair, we are in year 3 of that, and we go through each subdivision during the winter and try to repair and rebuild those catch basins, and we try to follow prior to engineering going through as well to take care of what we can find out as well through there. So a lot of programs that we're in, multiple year programs that we're coming through, and there's some new ones on the horizon. Also with that, we talked about programs and software. We've been using CityWorks for about the last 4 years. The last 3 of that, we went live in March of 13. So in March of 14, a year under our belts, we have data that we're starting to pull. And we talk about benchmarking, we talk about all that. We're actually starting to pull data through that. So with CRM we're talking about, that's going to help us as well. And hopefully that'll be pulled right into CityWorks when anybody calls in a tree down or a street light out or a pothole. So that's all part of this process. All of that work also gets shoved over to engineering as well. So anything we have in CityWorks that we're tracking, whether it's bad streets, storm sewer, water, whatever we track in CityWorks, we push that over to engineering so they can work with us on where we need to go to replace roads, mains, water mains, storm sewer, anything like that. So just keep that in mind as that what's going through. On the vehicle maintenance side, this budget is pretty flat. The only area in here that we decreased was the chassis parts, and that's because of our equipment being replaced and how good it's being maintained by our vehicle maintenance division. remind you that the only division or only department we do not maintain is fire. So we maintain all of public works, community development, and police department. And with that, we track all of that data in a computer system called CFA, which tracks all of that data, and we know when vehicles need to replace. We work with the departments on what type of vehicles they need. We spec those vehicles. So all of the new vehicles coming in are all spec'd based off of what their job is. So vehicle maintenance is pretty flat. So we're going to continue to replace and upgrade vehicles and village equipment, which we have been doing since the fleet administrator was hired in 2009. And we will continue to use CFA to control for analyzing repair costs and our preventive maintenance. The only thing, the thing that we did last year was we had ever since the fuel system was put in the ground, we had our fuel tanks cleaned and inspected. And that was the first time, and I believe we've had them probably close to 20 years. So that was one of the big things we did last year. So our system is actually on top and ready to go. So any questions on streets and or vehicle maintenance?
This department's really paid for itself since we
it
put
has.
it into
Yes,
time.
it
I mean, we're
has.
saving like 1 or 2 vehicles a year just because
Yes.
we're doing a better job maintaining them. Thank you. It's made a huge difference. Questions? Trustee Gurnee?
Yeah, I did have a question on the LED street lights. What percentage of the village is complete right now?
I think we're probably at about 36%, I would say.
And how long will it take to complete the...
Depending
entire
on
village?
grant money that we get from DCO
Okay.
or the ICE program through the state, and also funding, I would probably say within 6 years we should have it pretty well completed.
Okay, and what do you think the savings will be to the village at that time? Just a rough
You know what, I couldn't answer that unless I went back and did an analysis on it
Okay,
over time. I think we did that when we first came through, but I don't have that number.
I'd be
in front.
interested.
Yeah, I'll look that up and get back to
All
you
right,
on that.
thanks.
How about our fire hydrants? Are we done with that program?
I'm coming up to that next.
Oh, gee, I'm always get ahead of you guys. I'm sorry.
So Brian said he will handle the water and sewer side of it, so I'm going to talk about the initiatives and everything. So hydrant painting in fiscal year 17, we completed year 4. So we are 1 year away from finishing that, so that's next year we'll finish year 5. Our hydrant replacement program, we started replacing hydrants last year that were 1970 and older, and we replaced 12 of those hydrants, and we're continuing that program going forward into fiscal year 18. Well 1 is back online after being offline for about 4 years. So that's back online. The only remaining thing we have to do is the well house. We have to pull the old water softener out and then replumb that well house, and that should be done remaining of this year. And then hydrant flushing and inspection was done next year, or this year as well. So next year we have year 5 of the hydrant painting program. Our hydrant replacement program of year 2 we're going to continue. We're going to start hydrant flushing again, and we have to do flow testing this year for the fire department's ISO rating, so we continue to do that. And then this is a new one that we're doing this year. Our water main distribution valves, all the main valves that turn the water distribution off, we are going through and inspecting every one of them, every one of those valves, and GISing them and getting information on every valve. That includes part number, what make, model, and everything, and we're putting that in the GIS. So anytime we blow a valve, we know exactly which valve. We have the parts on hand and everything. Last year, if you remember, we did the hydrant, we did a valve inspection 2 years ago on all the valves. So this year, we're actually going through and maintaining them. So that's our initiatives for water and sewer. So we're moving right along. Any questions on water and sewer side?
Trustee Gurnee?
Just a trivia question. What's the cost of a fire hydrant to be replaced? Just the unit itself, just the ballpark.
$3,200 from main on up. That includes valve, auxiliary valve, and the whole hydrant and everything.
It's good trivia, right?
I know that true.
I know, but we're really improving our curb appeal with all of that and getting them painted. Trustee Wilson?
I was just going to address what Greg said earlier about the switch from the incandescent to the LED bulbs. There's a banquet facility that I know in Racine where when DJ stopped using incandescent type light bulbs and they switched to LED, his power savings, his energy savings every month went down like $1,400. So it'll be great when we can get, to that LED moment.
All right, back to Brian. Let's take a look at the other funds.
All right, we'll get into the other funds here before we talk capital. 911 fund, with dispatch consolidation and that new joint ETSB, the Northeast Lake County Consolidated ETSB. Saying that right? So we'll maintain our existing 911 fund and use it as a pass-through. So the village will seek reimbursement. We'll make purchases for any 911 equipment or whatever we need to buy, and then seek reimbursement from that joint ETSB. So this fund will just essentially act as the pass-through from that. Included $500,000 here on both the revenue and expense side. It's not, the joint ETSB isn't official yet, so they don't have a budget. So really, this is just a maximum that we would spend through here. Motor fuel tax fund. As of the end of last year, fund had $241,000 in here. It's restricted for roads. Brought the fund balance down over the last couple of years. Now we'll just kind of try to maintain it. There'll probably be a little $15,000 or $20,000 surplus there for the next few years. Impact fee fund, we talked about this a little earlier with the transfer to offset some stormwater management and sidewalk capital. Fund balance at the end of last year, audited fund balance was $1.8 million, so there's still some funds in here to be eligible to be transferred over to offset capital plan. Restricted revenue here, police department restricted revenue, about $74,000 in here, and this is when the police department seizes equipment or items or cash, I guess.
Contraband.
There you go. There's a process, and then some of that is awarded back to the village here that is restricted for use on drug and DUI enforcement, if I'm saying that correct, Chief. That money goes in here, and at some point we'll build up a balance and talk about how we can use this to offset probably some vehicle or capital purchases or something like that. Capital fund. Here we talked a little earlier about getting this fund balance down to about $2 million at the end of next year. Use of fund balance this year about $300,000 is where we think we'll finish. Use of fund balance next year of just under $1 million. Again, this fund is non-water and sewer capital. Bond fund accounts for all of the bond payments on the village's outstanding debt issuances. Transfer from the general fund here, the Series 2009 bonds, expires next year. These are the ones we talked about at the very beginning.
We're going to burn those papers.
$850,000 in debt service coming off next year. The Park District bonds are actually not paid out of this fund. They're paid out of the general fund, but I put the expiration on this slide. Those expire in 2020, and then the Series 2011 expire in 2022, which is $1.2 million in annual debt service there. So that's what we're looking at over the next few years. But this fund just accounts for the payment of the debt service on those debt instruments. As does this fund, 142, this is the SSA number 2 fund. This accounts for the bonds issued to do utility extensions in the Hickory Haven subdivision here. These expire again in 2020. The golf course fund, we typically had carried a $100,000 expenditure budget in here. We did not do that this year. That was per contract. The fund balance in here is about $151,000. If the golf course for some reason needs to go into that $100,000, we will have to figure that out. But they have sufficient reserves on hand to be able to handle any kind of surprises there. So we zeroed this one out. Getting into the water and sewer operating fund. Again, here we have a projected surplus this year of about $250,000. That's why we had brought down the transfer to $200,000 versus $300,000 that we had in the multi-year forecast. Again, here over the next several years, a planned spend down for capital. And when we put the multi-year rate plan in with the JAWA decrease that's anticipated to come out in 2020 here, give us that boost for capital. We don't need to draw down the fund balance anymore. On the capital side, fund balance here is combined with the water and sewer operating fund. Here we anticipate $1 million revenue from the IEPA loan for the Knowles Road Tower, about $220,000 in engineering work for that as well. $1.3 million, and Scott will go over a bunch of this when we get to the capital slides, but $1.3 million in main work and extensions, lift stations, vehicles and equipment and buildings, and Scott will go over those in detail when we get to the capital. Looking at the police pension fund, we talked a little bit about this earlier, the increase in the employer contribution this year. It's about 193,000, or about 9.9%. Overall, the employee contributions are 765,000. Investment income here at 2.8 million, and again, here you see the impact of that budgeting methodology change, assuming a 7% investment return on both the police and fire side. So here again, employer contributions out of the fire pension fund were up just slightly here, 38,000, or about 2.2%. Employee contributions account for 625,000, investment income at 2.1 million. Again, assuming that budget methodology change, a 7% return on investments here. Any questions before we get into capital? I'll turn it over to Village Engineer Scott Drabicki.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start off in the transportation system. Total budget amount will be about $4.8 million when we break that down as depicted here on the slide. Notable things for this upcoming year will be the sidewalk initiative. This is coming out of our strategic plan, and the Blue Ribbon Committee is working hard on this as we speak, actually. Expect we'll be working on the Knowles Road sidewalk this upcoming year and connecting the Knowles Road path to the ComEd Trail and then the Rollins Savannah over in the Forest Preserve, so that's an exciting change out there. East Grand enhancements is a new item for this year. This also came out of our strategic plan. I've been working close with Alan Dean, our Economic Development Director, to earmark some money for this. And our focus for this upcoming year is going to be working on starting to clean up the East Grand area as much as we can, knowing that IDOT is also starting the Railroad Bridge project in the next month or two. So we obviously are going to be working a little bit further east of them to stay out of their way. And we'll be primarily investing in the public right-of-way areas, including concrete replacement, sidewalks, curb and gutters, things of that nature, and then looking at improving some of the landscaping areas in those areas. The other item here is the Grand Avenue. We have $100,000 earmarked for that as well. And this is specific for the area in front of the Gurnee Mills area. If you've been out in that area in recent history, you can see that the concrete median is going back to gravel at this point, which we feel is a real big concern of ours for public perception of welcome to the Village of Gurnee. It is a state highway, so it's not the Village of Gurnee responsibility to do this, but we are going to take the bull by the horns and work with the state to try and get that area kind of cleaned up and some of those concrete repairs effectuated sooner than later. The other thing this year that we did not do last year was crack sealing. This is a preventative maintenance item where we seal cracks on the streets themselves with a black asphalt sealer. So we did not do that this current year just because we kind of ran out of stuff to catch up on. So this will probably be an every other year program from now on to kind of stay on top of things. The roadway map, the proposed 2017 roadway map, this is coming out of the capital plan at this point, and we'll be talking to the Village Board of Trustees here with a project letting on that probably in another month or so. So that'll be coming back to the Village Board. The stormwater system, not a significant number of changes here. We don't have any property acquisitions in the hopper right now with grant programs for floodplain acquisition, so we have an earmarked $50,000 as a placeholder on that in case an opportunity does arise. Perhaps we can get a house out of foreclosure, perhaps a grant program will come up and we can move quickly on it. So we're trying to keep our options open there. The bittersweet wetlands, this is a $63,000 impact fee transfer. This was actually money that was collected by the Village of Gurnee on behalf of the Army Corps of Engineers from the previous golf course owner due to work that they did not perform to enhance the wetlands out there. So we feel that the golf course is stable enough now that it's going to exist here for the next several years, and it would be worthwhile to reinvest in some of the stuff in that area. So we're trying to pull that out of the impact fee fund and reinvest it into the course and the wetland enhancement. Drainage improvements, these are specific project improvements. It could be storm sewer improvements or drainage improvements that are just a little bit above and beyond what Public Works can do in-house. So this will be contractual drainage improvements that are a little bit larger in scope. On the facilities side of things, we have $485,000 budgeted. $100,000 is going to the Village Hall here.
Blinds.
Of course, we're putting new blinds in the council chambers. The primary focus for this upcoming year, I am going to start looking at doing this room, actually, updating this room. It is 26 years old at this point, 25 years old, so we're going to refresh this room like we did Conference Room A. And then the roof for the building, we're going to get some inspection evaluation work done on the roof and see if we need to do repairs or start replacing the entire roof at this point. But the roof, again, 25 years old, it's asphalt shingles. we're getting pretty close, and the spot on the ceiling above me is still there. So, on the police department side of things, we have $168,000 budgeted. Again, police department facility is a 24/7 facility with a lot more people in it, so it has a lot of wear and tear, and it's not nearly as old as we are here, but just from the fact that it is a 24/7 operation, they also are seeing a lot of wear and tear needs. Fire Station 1, $80,000 will be budgeted for the female facilities over at that location. PW facilities, they're going to start doing some lighting and electrical improvements. I believe that's in the old building, in the old south building out there, so we'll start bringing that back into the modern age of LED lighting and real electricity that works. So we're working on that. We currently are recommending $40,000 in the Welton Plaza. The focus this year, and actually we just awarded the contract, or will be awarding the contract in about 2 hours here, will be for the paver installation out at that location. And then after the pavers are completed, we'll also be looking at doing the monument sign at that location as well. So that's up and coming. The last item here is the Mother Rudd House, and we've been working on this for about 4 years now. We have a new roof and new windows on the Mother Rudd House, so we were able to keep the raccoons out and all the other animals out. So now we're going to work on weather sealing it. The upcoming year here, we're going to replace the doors, which are also deteriorating, and then put a fresh coat of paint on the building itself. So I'm happy to report that the Mother Rudd House is relatively weather resistant at this point, and it should last us another 15 to 20 years without major investment. Water and sewer side. Our big one coming up this year is the Knowles Road Water Tower. So we are currently under contract and designing that as we speak, and we expect we'll start spending some money on construction on that before the end of 2018. The fiscal year 2018 year. So we are budgeting for that accordingly. Water main replacements and new water mains in general, $1.17 million. We are starting to let these contracts as we speak right now. So we have the Grand Avenue underneath the Des Plaines River, and we have a few of the outstanding ones from last year. We're also looking at working on Highland Avenue to extend sewer and water up on Highland Avenue, where no sewer and water currently exists. That was based on requests from the neighbors in that area who've been waiting very patiently for about a decade now, actually. So we'll be talking about that in the future as well. We're looking to put a backup generator over at the Northwestern Tower. This is not just for the little blinky light on the top. We do have radio equipment in our water towers that we use for emergency services, and apparently that water tower is very important for our new wireless connection up to the Zion and Beach Park areas. So we'll like to make sure that's in place. Lift station maintenance and generators. This will be for improving the sanitary lift stations in a couple areas of the community. We have an existing generator we're going to change out, put it at a different location, and then replace it with a new large generator to handle the requirements at that location. As the chief just pointed out, I did forget about the old Grand Tower demolition. We are fully expecting that the old Grand Water Tower on Old Grand Avenue will be demolished this upcoming year. So as soon as the new monopole was built at that location and the cell tower carriers are moved over to the new tower, the old tower will be coming down. So that's on there. And then sewer main, $140,000. Again, that is for the Highland Avenue extension. The location map here kind of shows you the general vicinity where we're working on the sewer and water. And yeah, we cannot totally see that at all from here, but generally Grand Avenue to the Des Plaines, Greenleaf Street to the south, Magnolia replacement, and then Highland Avenue with the sewer and water in the northeast corner of the village.
I'm looking at the vehicles and equipment included in the capital budget this year, about $2.7 million. As noted earlier, we have the $500,000 anticipated purchases and reimbursement from the new joint ETSB. Looking at it kind of by department here on the admin side, the second half of the financial software, this is one that we had budgeted fully last year, but we'll actually span 2 fiscal years, so it's about 50-50 each way. We also included an extra $38,000 for some potential payroll time and attendance interface with the new payroll system that we're looking at right now, so I included some funding in for that. Technology, and this is really network upgrades here that Chris and his team manage, $165,000. Some document management, some document scanning here for $38,000. That really makes up the administration side of it. And then getting into the actual vehicles here. Public Works, $1.1 million. Street side, $460,000. That includes 3 dump trucks and a pickup truck, along with a mini excavator. And the utility side, $634,000. I believe 125 of that is SCADA improvements, along with 2 dump trucks, a meter van, and a backhoe. Continuing on, police department, $235,000 here. This is for 5 squads being replaced. I believe at least 2 we're going to look at for Ford Interceptors. Possibly look at the K9 vehicles there, but at least looking at the new Fords, get a smaller vehicle and cheaper vehicle as well from a price standpoint. On the fire side, $435,000 again. The ambulance that we had talked about earlier, a command vehicle, and we also have a matching grant in there. For some electronic records in the inspection area, $65,000. Warning sirens for $25,000, and then the preemption system for $5,000. And with that, we're 1 minute past, and we'll take any. Happy to take any questions.
Outstanding job. I'm sure just looking back on the past fiscal year, y'all are exhausted, but I know we're going to make a good running start for the next fiscal year. We got a lot on our plate. Considering the challenges this year, you figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, the departments really rose to the occasion between everything else going on with, development activity and 911 consolidation and the financial software. We met with all the departments 2 or 3 times. Some of them were lucky enough to get to meet with us 4, and they understand that, where the priorities lie, and next year's a tight year, so they responded accordingly, and were understanding throughout the entire process. So I thank them for their patience and understanding and answering the phone when I called them, because they knew what the ask was going to be when they saw my name pop up. So
It's going to make a big difference because it's allowing us to do some investments that, again, will position us very well for the upcoming years. And that's exactly what we have to do with sales and food and beverage and hotel. We have to keep investing to keep it going. Otherwise, it just shrivels up and moves somewhere else. So I appreciate everybody's cooperation with Pat. I know what it's like to be at the what talking to him about money is like. So yeah, I have a wish list too, so I'm kind of in there too. So thank you. Questions on the trustees?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any questions that pop up over the next couple of weeks, get a hold of Brian or I. We'll be looking at all the numbers again. We've got some more, a couple more months of revenues, a couple more months of expenditures. So we'll go back and tweak all the year-end estimates and see how much more we can squeeze out of those. Look at the revenues and make those tweaks. Unless something major, I hear something major from the trustees, we'll probably just plan on bringing this back in the next meeting in April. Go over what those changes were. Mainly just changes on the fringes, and then get that budget before you for consideration that night. So first meeting in April.
Yeah, and remember, this is kind of the spending plan. All of these expenditures come before the board for action.
They all come back.
So.
Okay,
Right.
little pizza's here.
Pizza. All right, so I'm going to adjourn the budget hearing. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Garner.
Second.
Second by Trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right. Got to go to the bathroom.